Apple introduced the new M2 MacBooks over a month ago, and the early reviews already show that the M2 Pro with active cooling throttles. One can only guess how things are with the M2 Air with no fans at all. This is why it might be a good idea to have a look at some cheaper, better, and not so overpriced Apple devices that you might want to get instead of the new M2 MacBook. And also I'm gonna show you one non-Apple laptop that is a MacBook look-alike, but without Apple mistakes, and the price is truly shocking. Get ready, it's gonna blow your mind. The first contender for the M2 MacBook Air's spot will be last year's Air laptop. It's light and compact, produced in a triangular body. The laptop seems to be tilted towards you, allowing the wrist to rest comfortably on the keyboard. A nice keyboard, a large touchpad, two Thunderbolt USB-C 3.1 ports, and a headphone jack. You can unlock your M1 Air using the Touch ID scanner. It's used as a power button. Battery life is an impressive 18 hours, and a 400 nits screen will be enough to watch movies and comfortably work at home or in the office. But is it worthy of our attention now? Yes, inside the M1 has 8 processing cores, 4 of which are designed for high efficiency workload and 4 on the contrary for high performance. Depending on their intensity, tasks are shifted to appropriate chips, thereby saving battery life, reducing heat, and distributing resources so that the computer works as efficiently as possible in any possible scenario without failures and throttling. You may think that these facts are impressive, and they really are, but only compared to the previous generation of MacBook Air, nothing more. The M2 is a little faster, but our next device is ahead of everyone in the current chart. But before we move on, let's see what the prices are. The M1 Air starts at $1,000, and it more or less justifies what Apple promises us. It's compact, lightweight, and powerful enough for most users who don't need to work on complex, hardware-intensive projects. For those looking for higher performance and more features, take a look at the ASUS ZENBOOK 14 Flip OLED. This is not just a laptop, it's a convertible laptop. It has a 360-degree hinge, which allows you to use it as a tablet. There's also a 14-inch OLED, which produces a stunningly detailed, realistic image which takes up to 100% of the DCI-P3 space. This means that all color shades look more saturated than on conventional displays. Ideal for professional processing of photos and videos and for displaying any multimedia content. This same display is in my ZENBOOK Pro Duo 15 OLED, and boy, in a word, beauty. In addition, there is a touchscreen that supports stylus pencils. The touchscreen is always a cool bonus, but stylus support makes this laptop a good choice for digital artists as well. Isn't that lovely? You might think that this is where its cool features are finished, but that's not all. There's a fingerprint scanner and a touchpad combined with a numeric keypad. I myself don't see any advantages for myself in using this block, but if you have to do a lot of calculations or work in Excel, then you should definitely like this feature. You may have noticed this laptop in my videos before. This is the ASUS ZENBOOK Pro Duo 15 OLED, and its main feature is the second display above the keyboard. I like these innovative devices. They are unusual, exciting, and provide a unique user experience. This is one of the many laptops I'm about to show you as worthy alternatives for the newest Apple launches. And what about its performance? Is it really faster than M1 and M2? Let's see. There are some nuances that you must be aware of. Inside of this handsome boy there can be both Intel processors and AMD, and right now we have a device that has an AMD Ryzen 7 5800H. It's an 8-core 16-thread processor that blows the M1 and M2 processors to the smithereens in multi-core CPU benchmarks. If you work with 3D or other tasks that require a lot of computing resources, then the choice is definitely in favor of AMD. A regular user more likely won't notice a difference in performance. As you know, Apple is famous for being able to achieve better results in some applications using less computing power compared to Microsoft Windows devices. That is optimization efforts of Apple. Arthur, this is all good of course, but what about the laptop's size and dimensions and stuff, you ask? The laptop is thin and relatively light, but what should surprise you the most now is the set of its interfaces. Here we have 2 4th-generation Thunderbolts, a full-fledged HDMI 2.0, one USB port, who remembers those, a headphone jack, and a micro SD card slot. You can also connect up to 3 external displays at the same time. This is not the case for the M1 MacBook Air and M2. Something Apple should think about. How do you like this device? Personally, this is what I expect from Apple: compact and fast MacBook with a colorful touchscreen that supports styluses. We already talked about the potential killer of the M2 MacBook Air in this video. But now we're talking about the ZENBOOK, and here is a laptop with 16GB of RAM and 512 SSD. Will cost $1,100 on Amazon, just $100 more than the M1 Air. And more features: there is the OLED display with multi-touch, stylus support, 360-degree hinge. The only thing that may confuse you is the Windows 11 operating system, but you actually can comfortably work with the laptop on Windows, except if you're not an active user of the features only applicable to the Apple ecosystem. In that case, you should look only in favor of the MacBook. And if the power of the M1 Air is not enough for you and the ZENBOOK is not suitable because of Windows, then let's look at another alternative to the new M2 MacBook. As I said earlier, the M2 MacBook Pro was presented at WWDC, and it would make sense if Apple corrected the errors of the previous model, but no, sadly, that didn't happen, and instead Apple just changed the chip inside the device, and that was it. There is also the 14-inch M1 Pro. It's twice as expensive as the Air, but is it also twice as cool as the 13-inch M1 Pro? I think many have already guessed, but still, let's go over the facts, starting with its performance. Under the hood of this handsome boy is the Apple M1 Pro chip based on 10 CPU cores split into 8 high-performance cores and 2 efficiency cores in a hybrid design. On the GPU side, we have a 16-core design. While the increase is small in a single-core test, when the cores are fully engaged, the increase is an impressive 53%. This is really a lot, but we've seen even more in the case of graphics performance. The M1 Pro is twice as fast as the M1 in the 13-inch MacBook Pro. The 14-inch MacBook Pro design is identical to its older model, adjusted for the size of the display and overall dimensions, of course. Here we have a rectangular body, rounded corners, a screen with the notch, MagSafe, and other delights. Among them are the ports: HDMI version 1.4, 3 Thunderbolts of the 4th generation, a headphone jack, and a card reader. That's a good place to conclude. Of the significant advantages, in addition to performance, I want to highlight fast charging, 50% in 30 minutes. In terms of battery life, the 14-inch MacBook Pro lasted for almost 18 hours in the Full HD Video YouTube mode, launched in Safari. The 14-inch MacBook Pro with the M1 Pro is a really good laptop, boasting exceptionally high performance, a beautiful screen with a minimalistic bezel, a comfortable keyboard, a decent set of ports, a full-size USB, the only thing missing for ultimate happiness, and an excellent battery life. For work use that requires a high degree of mobility, this is the best option for Apple fans. But if you are not really attached to the ecosystem, we suggest taking a look at the next Windows laptop in my list. We're talking about a Dell laptop, namely the premium Dell XPS 13 laptop. The body is made of aluminum with a rough finish, with the edges and the corners gracefully rounded and beveled. It also tapers slightly towards the edges, making the laptop look even thinner, similar to what we saw on the M1 Air. All surfaces except for the sides are matte with a slight sanding effect. Here you can find only one micro SD slot on the left and a universal mini jack on the right, as well as one Thunderbolt 4 port on each side. The USB-C ports support DisplayPort 2.0 output and power delivery fast charging of mobile devices. They also serve as power connectors. A fingerprint scanner is hidden in the power button, which is convenient but not groundbreaking. The 4K resolution on the 13-inch display, but to be honest, on such a screen as small as this one, even at Full HD, the text looks great. This is an IPS display, but that's still not why this laptop made our list. It was its touchscreen. If you find yourself having to often carry your laptop or needing to whip it out and show something to someone, navigating the Windows interface and using the touchscreen is more convenient than moving the mouse on the touchpad. This is really missing in the MacBook Air, both in the previous generation and in the new M2. The touchscreen is very convenient, and if you ever use a laptop with one, despite Apple's renowned ecosystem, you will hardly be able to imagine a life without a touchscreen. This is a premium device with decent components and a slick finish. This laptop is not for those who need it for editing heavy high-res videos. This is a laptop for those who need a reliable device that lasts. The laptop is fully consistent with the class of premium ultrabooks. Compact, particularly thin and light, no complaints about the assembly, no squeaks, no cracks, no dangling or bendy parts. The display doesn't glare when working in a bright room. Interface ports, as expected, are few, but it's enough for modest needs. The internal makeup is quite a match for their positioning. It is far from the slowest, but by no means a high-performance processor. That is, this laptop will not be able to serve neither as a gaming solution nor as a workstation, but there is a lot of memory space, a large and fast SSD, so in most cases there shouldn't be any hiccups. The processor consumes little power, so given the excellent cooling system for its class, the laptop does not experience overheating problems and runs quietly. The battery life is impressive but not record-breaking. The format physically limits the size of the battery. All this is excellent, but not everyone needs a device like that. This laptop is about reliability, durability, and ostentation, a wonderful gift for loved ones or for yourself, which is why I added a younger device, so to speak, which is additionally more attractive in price. I'm talking about the Transformer laptop HP Envy X360 13 2-in-1. HP Envy firstly impresses with its appearance, thanks to the narrow bezels around the screen, as well as its property to have the bottom of its screen to act as a stand. The laptop turned out very compact. Initially, it may seem that the screen is 11 to 12 inches, not the promised 13.3. There is a full-size keyboard with proper spacing between the buttons, and the last column is occupied by the delete and home buttons and other keys necessary for productive work. The laptop is made of aluminum and has a matte finish with a minimum of decorative elements. I should probably highlight the unusual solution of the developers to reduce the size of USB ports. In order to fit a thick USB Type-A into a thin body, the USB port has a sliding mechanism. Despite the fact that HP Envy is considered to be a premium model, you couldn't open the lid with one hand. I would go as far as to say that the hinges are a bit too tight. You can call it a downside though, it's just that there are certain unwritten rules of the game and we would expect the lid to open easily in a premium model, especially when their ads usually involve a man in a suit who opens a laptop with one hand with a business-like look. A full HD IPS panel is used here, and there is also a touch screen. That is, the laptop screen can also be used with touch, and I repeat, is convenient. But what sets this laptop apart from all the others in the collection is the privacy screen, which is turned on with the F1 key. This feature reduces the horizontal viewing angles. Quite a useful feature when you have to work outside of the office or quickly conceal content on your screen that others shouldn't see. So this is a typical ultrabook certified under the Intel Evo program. There is a 4-core i5 with the maximum powerful integrated graphics Intel Iris Xe. In terms of performance, it does not exceed M1, but at the same time you can't really say that it's slow. It's definitely enough for simple daily tasks like typing, editing a couple of photos, or a short video. As a distinctive feature, it should be noted that the processor is attached to the RAM, which makes a chipset of sorts. So on this laptop you can only replace the SSD, however it's unlikely that you will have to do this since the SSD shows excellent results in the speed test. HP claims up to 19 hours of operation on a single charge, but this figure is highly dependent on the modification of the screen. So the option with the privacy screen is perhaps the most energy intensive. The 1000 nit screen is great when you have to work out of the office, but it makes you wanna always set increased brightness. Here we're losing charge and our eyes get tired. HP Envy is a productive laptop for those who often have to work on the go. The laptop is ultra compact and weighs only 1.3 kilos, while the battery life of the 13-inch model is claimed to be up to 19 hours, as I said. And the privacy screen that protects against unwanted eyes. And the webcam has a shutter that turns off the camera from the system. Also worth noting, a good set of ports including Thunderbolt 4 and the micro SD slot. And finally, pay attention to the Intel Evo sticker on the body. Certification from Intel shows that this is a thin and light laptop. You can find it on Amazon for $750 in a configuration of 8 RAM and 256 GB of storage. There are also larger modifications, and there is also a 15-inch version. Another young laptop in our selection is the Lenovo IDEAPAD Flex 5 2-in-1. It can rotate 360 degrees. Thanks to its design and touchscreen, the device turns into a tablet and vice versa. It's hardly worth worrying about the safety of the hinge. It appears dependable, and Lenovo has been producing similar models for a long time. When the opening angle approaches 270 degrees, the keyboard and touchpad are disabled to avoid false clicks. The novelty passes the opening with one hand without difficulty test. The frame is made of matte gray plastic. The design can be characterized as neutral. The laptop will appeal to lovers of minimalism and neat style. The device is thick by today's standards, with its weight being 1.5 kilos. Therefore, keeping the IDEAPAD Flex 5 folded like a tablet is not very convenient. On the other hand, extra weight and dimensions makes it possible not to be shy when it comes to including ports. The package is full: a pair of USB-A 3.1, USB-C, an HDMI port, and even an SD card reader. We have selected the Intel i5 processor configuration to test for you. The IDEAPAD Flex 5 received a 512GB NVMe M2 format SSD. The device is suitable for everyday office work with docs and other files, provides easy video editing and photo retouching. The system works promptly. Windows starts in a few seconds. Applications start almost instantly. Having opened a browser with a bunch of tabs, you can immediately switch to Photoshop without slowing down. The cooling system is of high quality and the noise levels are small under active load. In the mixed mode with documents, mail, online video, social networks, and instant messengers, the battery provides 7 hours of operating life at an average display brightness. A looped video in 1080p played on airplane mode can go on for about 12 hours. The indicators are not record-breaking, but not bad, given the performance of the chip. As you might guess, the screen here is an IPS, and due to the peculiarity of the hinge, which opens 360 degrees, the screen here is also touch-sensitive. Lenovo IDEAPAD Flex 5 is a well-balanced ultrabook that brings together the most well-liked features in this class. This baby costs $740 on Amazon. A relatively fresh processor is more than enough for most office tasks. If you wish, you can use it for some simple, no high-performance demanding games. The battery life is enough not to worry about finding an outlet in the middle of a busy day, and the ability to turn into a tablet makes the laptop a universal device for work and entertainment. So these were the 6 great laptop options that you can buy instead of the new M2 MacBook, depending on your needs. If you haven't tried Microsoft devices yet and you wish for a different user experience, then I recommend going for it. And with a touch screen, you will definitely be impressed. Peace.